All right, guys. Thank you. Okay, this will be our only our only meeting this week. We won't be having the Q&A on Wednesday, so in case anybody needed that, but I am available for you via Remind or in Google Classroom. Okay. I want to take a look at the next two pieces, the budgeting. We are coming down to the end. Okay. We are just two, uh, two, two sections, the budgeting and then career are the last two pieces for us. So we have four assignments overall with two additional quizzes. Um, our work should wrap up the week before Christmas, and then we will have when we come back after Christmas. I will be taking a look at your additional work that we could do with our resume, cover letters, getting you ready to make sure that you are able to get your pieces out if you're applying for like the work study, the co-op, and then also get you ready if you are looking to apply for any jobs. Okay, so excuse me. Let's get started. Let us begin in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. By God, we give you this class. Please give us the time to Please give us the time and conduct ourselves during it in a manner most pleasing to you. Saint Francis de Sales, pray for us in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, I do have Go Guardian up so that I could make sure that you're following along with me. I have, I'm going to share my screen out with you now. For some reason, the chat didn't turn on this morning, so I can't put links in there for you. I will check that out when we're done. What I'm going to ask you to do is if you have any questions, just grab the mic. And then also you can uh, you can use the web conference web conference number 6 to grab that link to put in for the attendance, the digital attendance there. Okay. So let's see what we have here now. Let me just move this over. Okay, get rid of this. Okay, so I'm going to open it up as a student. I'll use my student account. Move over to that one. Now this budgeting activity, the first budgeting activity is due tomorrow night. Okay, and I want to show you, you have some files that need to be turned in with this one as well. Okay, so this assignment is going to be worth 19 points. You guys did extremely well on the quiz the other day. I'd like to see the same thing happen with our next quiz, with our budgeting quiz. I'd like to see the same kind of results there. So let's start by taking a look at the budgeting piece. And this has, there are three sections to it. So since there are three sections, there are going to be three different exit tickets. So we have 19, there's going to be 19 points overall, 10 points for the Nearpod work and the additional files, and then the 9 points rather for the exit tickets. So here is the assignment. I'm in the assignment now as a student, and you'll see I have two files here on the side. So in this budgeting piece, what we're looking at is we're looking at first trying to get a handle on what our needs are and what our wants are. And there's a distinct difference between the needs and the wants. Needs are are things that you would require for your like food, shelter. Wants would be you would maybe want to have um, you would want to have something that is not, it's not necessary, it's not a necessary need, it's not a necessity, but it's something that you would like to have that would enhance maybe enhance your entertainment factor. Maybe you want to, maybe you would like to have an Xbox. Maybe you would like to have some different streaming options on your television. Maybe you would like to have a um, a nice shiny new car. Um, these are things that you don't necessarily need, but that you want, that you desire. Okay, they're not necessary for you to exist for your daily existence and meeting your daily needs. We need to make a determination between these different pieces, the needs and the wants. Okay, um, so in these exercises that you have, you're going to have some expenses that are necessary, some expenses that are necessary. So what do you think some of these expenses, some of these expenses may be? Well, some of them could be in order for you to attend school every day, you need to have transportation. Okay, so your transportation may be it may be that you have a TransPass. Now you have to buy. So if you have to buy a TransPass, if you're not issued one from the school, then you would have to buy a TransPass. That is a need. Okay, um, if you have uh, a if you have a car, okay, if you do have access to a car, then you would also need you would need to have insurance. You would need to have money for gas. Um, you would need to have pay for routine and maintenance, oil changes and things. These are things that you need in order to maintain the car. That is if you didn't have uh, the option for public transportation, because public transportation would get you, that would be meet the basic need of you getting to and from school. So now you're starting to think about, is the car a need or is the car a want? Okay. Um, you may start to lean more towards the want because you can get by without it. You can get by without it by using public transportation. Okay? Uh, the three sections that we have here are our basic budgeting area, some strategies that we're going to take a look at for you um, to help you assign money or set money aside for expenses, routine expenses that are going to happen on a monthly basis. And then also we're going to think also about, like we did earlier in the semester, where we were thinking about savings. And you'll hear that that 50/30/20 rule come up again, where we want to make sure that we are paying ourselves, paying yourself first, so that you're taking care of saving and saving for your retirement, and then also having money that you need for uh, your your needs for each month, and then a little bit extra left over for the ones that you are not going to be setting aside for savings for your retirement or for a future expense like purchasing a car or a down payment on down payment on a house. And we're going to also in this first exercise, you have um, the third section is budgeting and housing. So you we spoke about amortization and paying mortgages or in previous lessons. You will you if you have a mortgage, if you have a house, you're going to have a mortgage. Okay, if you don't have a house, if you are living in an apartment, you're going to have to pay rent. The only way, and that's possible, that you may be getting by without any of these two expenses is if you're still living at home and your parents aren't charging you anything for you living there, and you're not paying a room and board, uh, which probably will change once you get out there and get a job. You may not be paying now, but chances are very good that you may be kicking in something somewhere along the way before you actually move out on your own. So, but when you move out on your own, you are going to have to, again, choose whether you're going to purchase a house or whether you're going to live in an apartment. If you're going to purchase a house, we're going to see that you are going to need to have a down payment. So you can't finance the whole purchase price of the house. You're going to need a down payment, and roughly you're going to need approximately like 20% of the sale price. Okay, so I want to jump into the Nearpod activity, so we can just take a look at some of the slides that you're going to see. So when I talk about a down payment for your mortgage for purchasing a house, that's money you're going to need up front. Okay, and when you are applying to a bank for a loan or for a mortgage, uh, and if they're looking for 20%, let's say up front, you have to be able to prove that you have the 20%, and that the 20% that you have for this down payment wasn't a gift from somebody else. So, like if your parents or grandparents gave you money just so that you could make the down payment, chances are you're not going to end up getting a mortgage, because if you don't have the money for the down payment, how can they be sure that you're going to have the money monthly to make the mortgage payment? So if you haven't demonstrated your ability to save for the down payment, you may not be able to also make the uh, the payments for your monthly mortgage. So that's why when you are purchasing, you're not going to be purchasing right out of the gate. You're not going to be purchasing a house I would say you're not going to be purchasing a house when you're 19 or 20 years old, because you need to save for that down payment. You need to save get that 20%. And again, the 20% has to be proven that it was there, um, that you had the money for a while. It's not something that just hit your account within the last 3-4 months. It was there, and it was there because you were able to save it from the work that you've been doing, and you'll have to show when you're looking for a mortgage. You're going to have to show uh, uh, your earnings records. So they will ask for past W-2s from previous years, possibly even tax returns. So you will have to provide this information, and then that will give them a good idea of the financial picture of your financial standings. So you are when we're looking at these pieces now, keep in mind that if you are if you don't decide to buy, and I'm just going to advance through the slides here to get to the housing piece. If we don't decide to buy, our other option is to lease an apartment. If we are leasing an apartment, then we don't just need the rent for the apartment, but you're going to have to put money in escrow. You're going to have to put a down payment, or you're going to have to pay like your first month's rent, your last month's rent, and a security deposit. All of these things may tally up to at least 3 months' rent that you're going to have to come up with up front before you're able to lease the apartment. So it's less expensive. Let's put it this way: it's less expensive than upfront money that you need to buy a house. But you still need money up. You're still going to need money up front, which means you're still going to need savings, which means these previous lessons that we did early on in these exercises will come in handy in order to help you save money, so that you will have this. You save money over the short term, so that you could have this money to make a deposit. Uh, and if you could set aside the first month, last month, and a security deposit, then you when your landlord looks at this, you will have they'll have a better feeling for you being able to meet your financial needs of paying the monthly rent, because you had this money up front. And again, you didn't have to get it from a family member uh, in order for you to make the initial first month, last month, and security deposit. Okay, Vera, I need to refresh your screen, please. Okay, so let's take a look at going. We have here in the second piece, we have um, some budgeting strategies. This time around, I'm giving you a collaboration wall. Now, we haven't used a collaboration wall I'm sorry, collaboration wall in past exercises, but we're going to use it here. And with this one, what you do is you get a chance to answer this question here, where it says, pretend you won $1,000 in a contest, explain how much of this money you would allocate towards spending, saving, and other purposes. This is where that 50-30-20 rule comes in. So you put down, you'll list your answer on the screen here. In one of these, it'll come up as a white box when you go ahead and type your information down the bottom. And then what's going to happen here, see, it says pending, mine says pending approval. When you type in your response to the question, I will get notification. I will read your response and see if it matches it matches what you were asked, and also that it is appropriate. Okay, so you're not putting anything in there that is inappropriate. You can't comment on other students' notes. You could only comment on your own. And right now, I have the names hidden, so we don't see the names, but we will see them later. Um, if this works well for us, then I could see us putting a collaboration wall in where we will be able to respond to each other. So we could actually have like an online conversation using this collaborative wall where somebody could write in an answer to the question, and then you could add something to it, or you could ask questions to them directly within the collaboration wall. Okay, but right now I have that part turned off. The only thing you could do is answer this question, and then I will get prompted to read it and approve it, and then once I approve it, then it will appear here on the wall. Again, this is a new piece. We haven't used this one before previously. All right. Um, let me see. Okay, so here you have an article that you have to read here and then answer the questions. So in this one, let's take a look at this article here. We have different types of expenses. We have fixed expenses, recurring expenses, non-recurring expenses, and the whammy. Now, the whammy is something that was unexpected. Okay, let's say you have a car. You do have a car. You need a transmission. You need transmission work on it. Okay, that's a whammy. That's an expense that you're not going to have on a regular basis. It's an expense that is necessary in order for the car to run, and it's also going to be expensive. Okay. Um, the non-recurring expenses would be something that maybe you bought tickets to the Eagles. You bought tickets to the Eagles game for the next home game. So if you bought tickets, that's not something you're going to be doing on a weekly or a monthly basis. Recurring expenses will be an expense that you have every so often. It could be quarterly, it could be monthly. Um, but there's a difference between recurring and fixed. Recurring expenses you're going to get every month, or like I said, every month or every quarter, um, but they are going to vary. They'll vary based on your usage. Like a recurring expense would be your parents pay a water bill, your utilities, water bill, electric, gas. Okay, these are recurring expenses. You have them every month, but the amount varies every month based on your usage. So they are recurring, which means they happen on a regular basis, and you could plan for them, but you don't know exactly how much money it's going to be because you don't know how much you've used. Like during the summer, when it's really warm out, our electricity rates, our electricity utility bill goes up because we use the electricity more. During the winter, our gas bill goes up because we use more heat. When we're using heat, we have gas heat. We have to fire up the furnace more often. So our gas bill is going to be higher in the winter. Okay, but it's a recurring expense. It happens every month. Okay, but again, we don't know how much it's going to be. Now, fixed cost, fixed expenses. Fixed expenses would be um, like something like your mortgage or your lease or your car payment. These are expenses that you have to pay on a regular basis, but you know how much they are. Like when you have a mortgage, we learned earlier in earlier lessons, when you have a mortgage, you pay the same amount every month. It's not something that your mortgage doesn't vary month to month how much you pay. Your mortgage payment is calculated based on uh, the rate of your interest and how much you borrowed and for how long the time. So it's principal times rate times time. And then we have it, we use created an amortization table that will spread out those payments over, 20 or 30 years. And that's how you pay the same amount every month. But remember, we talked about in your mortgages, the bank or the lending institution gets the bulk of the money up front. So even though you're paying the same amount each month, um, more of your money goes towards the interest that is owed on the property, and the small amount goes towards the principal. And then over time, it shifts where more goes towards, as you get to the end of your term, more is going towards principal and less is going towards interest. The reason being, the bank gets their money or the lending institution gets their money up front. They get the bulk of their money up front from you in the form of their interest payments, your interest payments happening and being allotted a larger percentage based on the length of the loan. Okay. So these are the four expenses, the four different types of expenses you have: fixed, recurring, non-recurring, and that whammy, that one where we have to we have something that we need to pay for some repair, possibly. Maybe it's a hot water tank, something that doesn't happen all the time. But when it does happen, we need to have the money in order to be able to fix that or cover that expense. Okay. Um, Here, after you do this reading, we will have to categorize these expenses, um, and so you have the expenses of a phone bill, restaurant, Netflix subscription, emergency room bill, uh, and buying school supplies. Uh, you notice the emergency room here is marked as a whammy. Not something that we had allotted for, but it's something that we have to pay, and it's something that is not recurring. It's not recurring. It's not fixed. Okay. But it's something that we have. It's a payment that we have to make, um, and we have to be prepared. We have to have money set aside in order to be able to do that. Okay. So some parents, you'll hear your parents call them a rainy day fund, maybe somewhere where you will be setting aside money for these types of expenses. Okay. What you don't want to do, guys, is to get into the habit of paying for these expenses with a credit card. Okay, because if you're paying these expenses with a credit card, like especially these whammies, which are big, um, if you pay with a credit card, you want to try to pay the balance off before the next within the first billing cycle. Otherwise, you're going to get hit with a large interest payment. The interest, remember when we looked at interest before and credit cards, we said that the interest was on the outstanding balance. So if the interest is on the outstanding balance and you put a big chunk of money on a credit card to pay a bill and you make the minimum payment that month, then you're going to pay interest on the amount of the unpaid balance. And then sometimes you can see where if you're making the minimum payment, your bill could be higher. Your outstanding balance can be higher next month because your interest is more than what you paid. So you want to try to put all of these lessons together, the savings lessons from early on, the credit card lessons from early on, and see that we can save money, have a savings account, have a rainy day fund, so to speak, so that you can handle these expenses when they arise without having to use a credit card and incurring more debt. Unless you can use the credit card, like I said, and then pay it off within one billing cycle, so that you don't have to you don't won't get hit with a large interest payment. Just going through the slides here. Um, Here's that 50-30-20 rule again. So you will take a look at there in this section here. They're going to talk about um, paying down balances. Okay, and the zero-based budget things here that where you pick an outstanding balance that you have, and you decide that you're going to pay that one off. So you when you're paying your monthly payments, you pay more towards one of the payments to get it to a zero balance, so that that payment goes away. So you may need to pay more each month in with your monthly payments. You will have to pay more in order to get the balance to zero quicker. If you continue to pay on a regular, you continue to make the minimum monthly payments um, on the bills, then you won't. The bill's going to hang around for a long time. And in order to get to zero, what you're trying to do is reduce the amount of your outstanding debt. And in the previous lessons, we spoke about credit limit and how your available credit and how your credit score is affected by the amount of available credit that you have. And if you pay things off, if you pay a zero, you get something to a zero balance. The more accounts you can get to a zero balance, the higher your credit score is going to be. So you'll see that everything starts to tie together for you as we advance through these lessons. So the 50-30-20 rule and the zero balance budgeting. This piece here you're going to be able to see how making these decisions to pay off an expense, like picking one expense and then paying that down to a zero to get a card to a zero balance, is going to affect you in the long run by increasing your credit score and then also having less monthly payments down the line. Okay, so here's a video that you want to watch on the zero budget, zero balance budget, and then you have some questions that you need to answer. Okay. Um, there's another video with some questions. So you have to make sure that you are completing these exercises. You shouldn't be able to advance through these without, in this one, envelope budgeting. They're going to talk about you making budgets, making envelopes for each of your each of your expense class categories. Okay, so like if you're living in an apartment, you have an envelope for rent. You have if you are using public transportation, you have an envelope for your transportation. If you have you have grocery money, uh, grocery bills. You're going to set aside money on a weekly basis for your grocery bills, and so that you have these things and you're putting it in an envelope, so that uh, when these expenses occur, you can just go to the envelope and take the money out of the envelope and pay from there. Now, um, what happens if you get hit with a whammy and you don't have the money to cover it? Well, then you're going to try to come up with a plan that will, again, if you have to use a credit card, you want to try to do it so that you can pay it off in the first billing cycle. Or can you use money that you had set aside for another expense, maybe another want? Can you borrow from the want envelope because you have a need? All right. Chances are you're going to come across that where you'll have money set aside. Maybe you have money you're setting aside for because you want to get you have a car, but you want to get a paint job. So you're putting money aside so that you can afford the paint job for the car, probably a couple $1,000s. So as you're putting the money aside for that, then you have something comes up with the car where you need a repair on the car. So you have a whammy. If you have a whammy, maybe then you have to sit down and say, well, I have this much money in my one envelope for the paint job, um, but I could take that and use it towards the repair. What does that mean for you? It means you're going to have to wait longer to get the car painted. All right. You're not going to be able to do everything that you want to do when you want to do it. So you may have been on track to get your car painted next month, but now when this car repair came up, now it's going to set you back maybe 6 months or so before you could actually do that because you have to resave the money. Um, one second, gentlemen. Yes, Joe. Uh, the that's not current with their assignments aside. Mhm. Okay. Tilt your screens down, gentlemen, so that I can see not the tops of your head, and not the lights. Okay. There we go. Okay, I need Nolan and John. You guys must be crazy. Okay.
Mr. Carboni, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mr. Williams. I can see everybody now.
Worm is in another location online. But you said he was doing what? Jonathan is doing what?
Okay, I could see everybody. Looks like I see everybody here now, except for Nolan.
Everybody make your screen available. All your stuff available to Mr. Carboni right now. Everything should be available. I want him to see everything.
Okay, yep. Let Mr. Williams know I see everybody but Nolan. Okay, and keep the screen, Julian, turn your screen, so that or pull your screen down so I can see. Oh, I'm looking at lights. There, thank you. Okay,
Go back out and do this again. Come back out, reload back in.
okay. So I guess, gentlemen, this is what we're going to have to do, okay? We still have a couple more a couple of more of the web conferences that we're going to need to take care of. So when we do the web conferences, we will use both the camera and GoGuardian to make sure that everybody is where they're supposed to be. All right. Um, so we'll know that going forward, and I will see what I can do on my end to make sure that your camera automatically, so like your camera, I think I could set it so that your camera can automatically kick on when you log in. All right, we don't need the microphone all the time, but we can set it so we have the camera. Um, and I will just wait for, like I said, I'm waiting to see Nolan there. All right. So I want to thank Mr. Williams for his support here with this, and you should be doing the same, gentlemen. When we get back, let's get back here to the envelope budgeting. When I was talking about the envelope budgeting, I was talking about setting aside money for particular expenses, and then you get hit with a whammy, and you would then maybe borrow from one of the envelopes of a future want, not a need, from a future want to assist you in taking care of the whammy that you had for the car, like I said, for the car repair. Let me just move this out of the way. Yeah. Okay, there's an activity here that where you're going to do a budget. You have exit tickets, and we are going to move into the last piece, which was the housing. Okay, so you're budgeting for housing, and I did talk about that with the mortgage and the difference between a mortgage and a lease, and what you're going to have to kind of money that you're going to need up front for that. For each of those pieces, the 20% for the mortgage, the first month, last month, and security deposit for the lease. Okay. Okay. And Nolan, I'm still not seeing. I'm not sure what's happening with that. We may need to shut the Chromebook off and turn it back on again. Okay, so this exercise itself has these two pieces, and this is due tomorrow. This one's due, the one that's due tomorrow night. Okay, um, so you have the Carboni. I have a Carboni student file here, which is needs and wants. You're going to have to classify these needs, these items here as a need or a want, as a priority. Okay, and tell Nolan we're good. All right, we're good. Um, so the uh, the expenses here you're going to have to classify as either a high priority, a need, a want, or a high priority want, a low priority want. So the high priority ones, low priority ones, they're up to you. Okay, these are pieces that are the decisions that you are going to make are based on how you feel about them. Whether something is necessary remember, wants aren't necessary, needs are necessary. So you'll need to make a decision on whether it's a need, and then split your wants between high priority, low priority, and then there's even some blank spaces in here where you could add some pieces in here that don't fit that aren't already in the table, but you think are expenses that you're going to have down the line. Okay. And then you're going to look at ideas on your discretionary spending. Discretionary spending is where you're going to use some of the extra money that you have towards some of your priorities. And these are again are not something are things that are not things that are going to recur, but you will discretionary spending is your paying or you're buying these items at your discretion. You're making the decision to make these choices. But again, you're not putting yourself in a financial hole to do that. You're not using a credit card you're not going to use a credit card for a want that eventually is going to put you in a situation where you're going to have increased amount of expenses for interest. Okay. The the other piece that you had was um, this item here, where you're going to, it's a scenario, different scenarios, and these answers here are text-based. Okay. The text-based answers, you will have to read the piece at the top that's going to give you a little bit about the girls' financial history and some of their expenses that they have. And then you're going to have to give them ideas and answer these questions in ways that they can handle handle the payments that they need, and you're going to give them an idea of what what types of money, how much money in this particular case, how much money they're spending each month on these particular expenses. Okay, and some of them are wants, some of them are needs, and some of them are recurring. So you will have to put all of the information in here, do a little bit of math work with it. Uh, your answers may vary based on how you feel and how you think what category you think they should fall into. Okay, and then you will then come up with some suggestions as how they can handle their expenses in the future. Okay. Okay. So that takes us through the exercise that's due for tomorrow. Okay. Um, I don't expect that you want to carry this into the holiday because you have another assignment that's coming right behind it. Okay. So what I want you to do is to um, make sure that you complete this, and by completing it, I mean complete these two pieces, these two files as well. If you are not completing the additional files that go along with it, you're not getting the full point value for the assignment. So there are 10 points that are available for the work, 6 points or 9 points rather for the uh, exit tickets with this one. If you don't do these two pieces here, I'll tell you right now, you're losing 5 points. The most you could get is 10 points out of the work that's due. Okay. And when you're doing these, make sure that you are filling out all the responses. You're typing in complete sentences where needed, checking spell check, uh, making sure that you are using the correct English and punctuation and spelling in your responses. And do me a favor, guys, read your responses before you hit the answer key. Okay? I mean, before you hit the submit key. Questions, gentlemen? You could grab the mic. Okay, so everybody's going to turn in the assignment by tomorrow night. Okay, at what is it? Tomorrow night at 9. You will have this. You could start the next assignment. All right, and the next assignment is budgeting part 2. In budgeting part 2, there are only um, two pieces. There are 3 pieces, but only 2 exit tickets. So budgeting part 2 is worth 16 points. and then there'll be a quiz that will follow it. There are also 2 additional files in budgeting part 2. All right. Julian, grab the microphone for me.
He said his mic doesn't work.
Okay, how close, Declan, how close are you to him? Is that Declan or Declan? Who said Julian's microphone doesn't work? Declan?
My mic wasn't working.
Okay, okay. Nathan, we're good. All right, we're gonna go with keeping the cameras on, okay? In the future, Mr. Williams, I thank you for pointing that out to me. We will see where this goes with Nathan. Shut your microphone off. We'll see where this goes between the cameras being on and the Go Guardian. And I think what I'm starting to rethink maybe the next web conference we have, we'll do interactive. So I'll include pieces that they have to do work during the time that we're together, rather than me reviewing the work that they're going to be doing outside of class. Okay, so I'll go over this with Mr. Williams so he has a heads up. So next time, the next time we get together, I'll probably use, instead of using a self-paced lesson, I'm going to use an instructor-led lesson and have you do the work as I go through it. Okay, I'll lead the lesson, I'll lead the slides, and you'll do the work. Okay, gentlemen, have a good holiday, and I'll look forward to seeing your work tomorrow night. Goodbye.